Board members present, all board members present except for Mr. Mann, who's away on traveling on business. So with that, please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Student council, I hope they are here because they're probably getting ready for graduation. So good. All right. So with your indulgence, board members, I was asking earlier before the meeting started, the draft minutes, Jeannie's anxiously awaiting approval. If you had a chance to look at the minutes and if you were absent, but if we don't have a quorum, I would ask if someone would step up and vote to approve the minutes in case we don't have a quorum for the minutes for approval. So the first minutes I had that John, Jen, and Joanne were not here for the May 3rd meetings. So does that leave us 1, 2, 3, 4? It's Cheryl, 5.
Oh, I'm just putting my hand up because I was here.
Do we have enough? Yes.
No.
No.
1, 2, 3.
We have 4. So does anyone want to volunteer to? Oh, Jen. Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes. Cheryl, second. Kathleen, all those in favor? Approved. All those abstaining? 2. Thank you very much. So for May 24th, I had John, Cheryl, Emily, Joanne were not here. So we have 3 of those board members. We're at 4 again. So need a motion to approve the minutes. Michelle, second. Kathleen, all those in favor? I need 1. Michelle,
You're not there.
you can if you want. You'll be okay. Approved. Okay. Abstentions. And then the last one, June meeting, June 7th. Kathleen, Jen, Michelle were not here. So we're at 4, 5. Okay. Need a motion to approve? Who's here? Joanne, Cheryl, second. All those in favor? Jeannie, we got through it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Soon we're gonna have like a running list of 9.
Now the board forum. I'll start on my left with Cheryl. Good. Michelle, Joanne, I'm sorry. John, sorry. Good. Still
Yeah,
good. So
well, I'm
good.
saving it for
Jen,
the
I'm
next
all
round.
discombobulated now.
Okay.
Jen, good. Kathleen,
Need to say goodbye at some point. Do I do it now or? at the
we
end?
reserved it to the last,
Yeah, okay.
at the end, second board forum.
Oh, we're saving it for you.
And Joanne, you're good. So now move to the public forum. Residents, students, employees, and business representatives of the East Greenbush Central School District may address the board on matters concerning programs and/or operations of the district other than matters involving personnel. Members of the board do not directly respond to citizen concerns during the public forum. If a response is appropriate, either the president or superintendent will contact the individual in the near future. Those persons wishing to address the board will be directed by the chair of the meeting, should state for the record their name and address or affiliation with the district or business. While the board does not wish to infringe upon free speech protections, it must be stressed that the visitors forum is not deemed to be an open forum. The board president will conduct the forum through ordinary efficient operation of board business. In addition, any remarks which may be considered defamatory or stigmatizing are prohibited and will be declared out of order. All comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. Anyone address the board this time? Mr. Coyle, welcome.
Billy Boyle, Interim Director of Pupil Services for the last almost 10 months now. I just wanted to thank the board for the opportunity to work again this year and let you know that it's been a very rewarding experience. And you guys, we got a really good staff here, top to bottom. They're a top group of people. And it's the only reason that I come back and work out of retirement. Thank you all and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nope. Okay. Now move to reports and presentations of the superintendent.
Yes, I
Mr.
just want to
Simmons?
provide an update. Thank you, Mr. Buno. I want to provide an update to the board and the community regarding our capital project planning. Soon after school ends, we will continue to work on the fire and smoke alarm system at the high school. Additionally, we discussed with the board at our last meeting, going out for a request for proposals for a new architectural firm. We were very encouraged by the pre-RFP meeting yesterday, which Mrs. Wager and Mr. Bickle coordinated, and I attended. We had 6 firms attend the pre-RFP meeting. We've had some other inquiries today, so we are going to likely have a number of firms responding to the RFP. Our attorney was present, and just kind of outlined some of the things that we would be looking for in the RFP. Mr. Bickle gave a brief slide presentation involving the location of all of our schools, some of the work that has been done in the current capital project, some of the work that we have identified in the building condition survey. We had an opportunity for them to ask any questions that they might about the district, and then we offered a tour. Given the time, no one really took us up on the tour other than touring Janae. So we think we're going to have good participation in the RFP process as we proceed. Additionally, I believe, and Linda, correct me if I'm wrong, the playground project has been submitted to the State Education Department for Janae, and it has been approved by the State Education Department. We will not be able to really start that project until later this fall, I believe.
Probably this spring.
The spring. So we won't be getting it done in the summer, and the existing playground will be maintained for utilization. We did not have enough money in the remaining project to do both playgrounds, so we will prioritize Red Mill for the next project.
Very good. Any questions for Jeff? Okay, great. Moving on to the next part of our agenda, discussion items, proposed upcycle project.
Ask Mr. Goodwin to talk about this. Mr. Goodwin is always looking for, as our Director of Technology, ways to raise revenue and also improve our technology program. So he has found this resource that he wants to bring to our attention.
Sure. Item A under discussion items. Thank you, Mr. Simons. So as you know, we started about 6 years ago with the Chromebook one-to-one program, grades 3 through 8. And in the last 2 years, we've cycled through and replaced all those Chromebooks, which have a typical lifespan of about 3 years if you're really careful. They're comparable to a cell phone. You would replace your cell phone every 2 to 3 years normally. It's a consumer electronics item. Many of the units are no longer usable. Those that are no longer receive updates from Google. And what happens when a device comes out of contact with Google for updates, it becomes less secure and more vulnerable to cyber attack. And we want to always be conscious to protect the data privacy of our students and staff. And so we've replaced quite a few of those units, and we currently have the older units to dispose of. There's well over 1,000. Our typical series of events would be to ask you to approve the surplus of those units. And then if we didn't have a place to donate them, we would usually just pay a company to come and pick them up. This reverses that. We've found a company that will pay us for these units. They will dispose of them securely. They will refurbish some of them, break them up for parts because there always is third-party parts market. Not every school district is as fortunate as us to be able to use something like a Smart Schools fund cycle to replace our Chromebooks. So this would generate some revenue for the district, and it would be a good way to say goodbye to these many units. So I'm asking you to consider that, please.
Any questions for Peter?
The only question I have is about the security, the
Yep.
security and confidentiality. I'm sure we've already looked into that. And
Yep.
how they destroy all of our information.
Yeah, most of the devices are student devices, and we would power wash them first.
Okay.
And then they have a secure, like a guarantee of security.
Great. So we're doing it and they're doing it as well.
Right.
Excellent. Thank you.
And they come, Peter, do they come and you have them someplace and then they do all the manual labor and
Poor Marcin here has assembled 3 pallets of these things, and they're sitting in the maintenance hallway. And you really have to give us some credit because that's a lot of assembly and taking care of.
Thank you, Marcin.
devices. He really has done a great job.
And how did you hear about these guys, this vendor? How'd you hear about the vendor and where are they based?
Actually, my secretary, Megan Smith, researched it, and I think they are based possibly in California, but they have local contact too, and they will come right on site and take them. And it's a win-win, it brings
Sure.
money back to the,
Great.
Are
to the
other
district.
districts using them like around here?
Every district has their own way to do that. I'm not aware of what they're doing. This is the first one I've seen where we would actually come out on the plus side. So,
And no issues with our surplus policy and things like that. Good. Sounds good.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Peter. Next item is the emergency remote instruction plan.
I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Stiles. The State Education Department is requiring all school districts to have a remote instruction plan in the event of an emergency, such as another widespread health issue, or this could also be utilized in the event of a district exhausting its snow days or its weather-related closures. This will be seen again as part of the district's safety plan. It's a required component of that safety plan that will be presented in the summer. Mr. Stiles is unable to be at that meeting, and so he asked if he could provide an opportunity for the board to have a preliminary presentation. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Stiles.
Thank you. Everyone's favorite topic, I'm assuming, is remote instruction, PTSD for anybody. So just wanted to give just a little bit of overview and some highlights of that plan. So as Peter had mentioned, we currently are 1-to-1. So the beginning of the plan, we address how we're going to ensure that all students do receive devices. So we have Chromebooks for all students. So we're in good shape for that. We do also every year do a digital equity survey to make sure that all of our families have connectivity. And, if we get information that they don't, we're able to address that as needed. And again, now with us having this plan and the possibility of having to utilize remote instruction, we will make sure if we don't receive the information back from families that we're being proactive and making sure we're getting that information. So for the elementary, all of our elementary schools, there will be for all students kindergarten through 5th grade, we will have a combination of synchronous and asynchronous learning. That is a requirement for the remote instruction plan, is there has to be synchronous instruction going on as part of that. So our students, ultimately, their day will begin at 9 o'clock in the morning and end at 1 o'clock. So it's a little bit of a 2-hour shortened day with, again, a combination of synchronous instruction and some asynchronous instruction as well. In terms of the expectations of what that looks like at the elementary level, we are saying there'll be a minimum of an hour and a half of asynchronous instruction that would occur. In the plan, you had to make sure that we addressed how students are receiving special education services. So we feel very comfortable in that piece of the plan in terms of our special classes, our integrated co-teaching consultant services, and also related services. So what we decided at all levels for related services in terms of speech, OT, PT, that type of thing, in a short-term closure, for example, as Mr. Simons had mentioned, if we use all of our snow days and need to utilize remote instruction for a day, that those related services would be asynchronous. But if for some reason we had to do a longer, prolonged closure, those services would transition to synchronous. And again, that's the same for our elementary, middle school, and high school. Something at the elementary school that we mentioned is, for this year, all of our teachers will provide an emergency remote folder for students early on in the year to be able to go home and stay there, so some supplies, paper, things like that, so that if for some reason we do need to go remote, our younger students have, there's some, things there built in already for them. And then also, for students where remote instruction is just not available or, not appropriate, the teacher would provide some asynchronous activities and things for them that would still be able to count for their attendance for the day. Going to Goff Middle School, they will ultimately, again, have a combination of synchronous and asynchronous instruction. They'll really be running on a 2-hour delay schedule. Students will follow their, their schedule. Attendance will be taken every period for the students. And in terms of, the expectation around the proportion of synchronous and asynchronous instruction at the secondary level, we really wanted to be a little bit more flexible So ultimately, the language that we're using is teaching faculty and class assigned support staff must be present during the duration of instructional period as scheduled and facilitate both a combination of synchronous and asynchronous instruction. So really giving the teachers the flexibility of what's appropriate, but it would be expected that there'll be some level of synchronous instruction going on at every period. And we really want to make sure that instructional time will allow for regular and substantive student interaction. And again, we feel very comfortable with the way we would make sure we're addressing our students with special education services. And again, asynchronous activities or supplemental materials would be made available for students who could not participate, through remote instruction. And at Columbia High School, a very similar plan to Goff, again, working on a 2-hour delay schedule and the same language in terms of students would have to follow their schedule, attend all of their courses, and teachers during every period would provide a combination of synchronous and asynchronous instruction. We had a really great committee that had, all stakeholders involved from the elementary school, middle school, and high school, teachers, teaching assistants, and administrators, and everyone was in support of the plan. Any questions?
So the snow day thing kind of intrigues me. I mean, how do you provide last minute access to students and things like that? It's kind of challenging. I would hope that we wouldn't use that.
Well, I think as we get closer to utilizing our snow days, we would continue to put information out through Parent Square that we are, that this is a possibility.
Mhm.
You have the remote folders and the material that they already have. I believe that the state regulation does not permit you to use this in order to bank days. Is that correct?
Correct.
In other words, you have to really be in a situation where you are out of days.
You're not going
There
to.
are no other days in the calendar. You
No
can't
one
say,
can.
well, I'm at my third day. We only got 2 left in the calendar. Let's do a remote day, the next snow day, so that we still have 2 left.
Right.
So that won't be permitted. So it's only in the event that we utilize all the 5 that we're permitted to count this as a day of attendance under the state aid.
They can't be pre-planned
You
days.
can't pre-plan.
Were other schools doing that? Like some schools
think so.
choose not to have snow days. I thought they were just doing it remotely. Is that true?
Some
To avoid using it.
Some districts I do know
Cut it to
built in
calendar.
less snow days, or I guess possibly
Gotcha.
no
Yes,
snow days
yes.
into their calendar.
So then you're still you're not in violation of that then,
Right.
because you put no snow. Okay.
The regulation says you have to have all days exhausted. So you couldn't even do this to save your Friday before Memorial Day or your Tuesday after
Oh, right.
Memorial Day. That's not permitted. You'd have to use that Friday or use that Tuesday. Is that correct, Brian?
Yes, it is correct. But you are right that some schools have adjusted their calendars
Mhm.
to have less built-in snow days and then moving to this sooner
Right.
than we are. We
With
still,
some positive impact, some opinions are positive and some opinions are not. So it is much of a debate in those districts, I've heard.
Right. So we still do have our 5 built in to our calendar for next year. And again, it will be a little bit of a change. If we do use all 5, we will have our teachers pay a little bit closer attention to the weather because our younger students don't necessarily bring their Chromebooks home every night. So that will be something, if our snow days are used and there's a possibility of a day, we would have to be, sending our students home with their devices. So that will be something that teachers are going to have to do a little bit more kind of preemptive instruction earlier on with our younger students in preparation to possibly have to use a remote day.
Thanks to the team for putting the plan together. And
Hoping now that
Complying.
it's so comprehensive, we won't have to use it. Right?
State regulations are a little more direct than they were when we first had an emergency. The level of synchronous instruction that's required has to be comparable to what the kids would be receiving if they were in school. And, back in 2019-20, when we had to shift quickly to this, and then even in 2021, the regulations were guidance was more ambiguous than it is now.
thanks, Rick. Thanks to the team.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. I think the next one's yours as well. PD
Yes.
day, PD planning, professional.
Yes. So I just wanted to give an overview of our 23-24 professional development plan. We have a great professional development committee, again, very large committee that has representation from, all of our buildings, different departments. So just, the professional development planning team, has 4 core beliefs High quality professional development is focused, sustained, works embedded, collaborative and purposeful, professional learning that results in student achievement and teacher effectiveness. Professional development programs facilitated by administrators, teacher leaders, and paraprofessional staff support faculty in assuming leadership roles that enhance the learning community. Professional development that is focused on student learning should be aligned with curriculum and instruction as well as the culture of the district. And recognizing that every educator engages in professional learning every day, the district strives to provide differentiated, varied, and embedded professional development CTLE activities. And I just wanted to just highlight a few of the areas that we have some initiatives and priorities. Again, it's a pretty extensive list here. Just some of the, like I said, areas that I want to just address is, science of reading is something that we're really putting a lot of emphasis on at our elementary school, continuing to provide support to students, staff, and families for our E&L students, providing professional development around social emotional wellness and mental health. Again, I think we maybe came from Mr. Buno at the last meeting, is making sure that our middle school best practices, we're really making sure that we're supporting students' needs at our middle school. Computer-based testing, which is coming, starting at all levels, or several of our levels next year. Around data, our building level data teams and really utilizing the student data to help our instructional practices. Increasing the opportunities for project-based and authentic learning at all of our levels. Again, the ongoing professional development to support our middle school best practices is something that we want to continue to focus on. Something that's kind of new that I was talking to Mr. Simons about was, our teachers learning about the uses for artificial intelligence. That's something that we had a great speaker that came in and met with our content coordinators and department chairs, and just how that can, is going to be impacting education as we move forward. Again, increased focus on restorative practices, our social emotional learning, providing professional development to increase awareness on issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, our ongoing curriculum mapping, and again, utilizing our Questar 3 curriculum work and, doing some added embedded professional development with those staff. The program also outlines the CTLE activities that are required for teachers and teaching assistants. And then our focus areas for this upcoming school year, we made sure that our goals for our professional development plan are aligned directly with our Board of Education strategic vision. So again, goal 1 is to support innovative, future-driven teaching, learning, and leadership practices, which prepare students for the knowledge and skills they require for future success. 4 of the strategies are the ongoing work on curriculum mapping district-wide, continue to work with our MTSS framework, continue to build teacher capacity on the science of reading and how to implement these shifts into classrooms, and then continue to implement and support K-12 tech integration. Our second goal, meeting the academic, social, emotional, cognitive, mental health, and trauma-based needs of all students. A few of our strategies continue to work to increase our staff's awareness and preparedness in working with and supporting the diverse student needs of all of our students that we serve, continue to support all district students and employees in the area of personal wellness. And then our third goal is promote practices which support a safe, welcoming culture where all children, families, and employees feel they belong and experience success. And again, our 2 strategies will continue to emphasize respect and support and increase understanding of all cultures, languages, and traditions, striving to ensure that all students have an equitable opportunity to learn, and then continuing to work with our local law enforcement agencies to increase employee and community awareness on best practices regarding school safety. And then at the end, we have our teacher mentor program that is in there, and our teacher mentor program is, really high quality, really great professional development, not just for our newer teachers, but also for our actual mentors as well. I think it's great professional development for them. Again, just a brief overview. If there's any questions, I can get into more detail.
Questions? So the AI conversation is really intriguing as you look at individualized learning opportunities for students. And how was that received?
Very positively. But I'll let Mr.
Yeah, it was very positive. So we had Dr. Bill Daggett come. We plan on continuing to do some work with him, the remainder of this year and into next year. So Mr. Simons and myself had spoke to him a few different times. He came in and spoke with our department chairs and content coordinators. I believe that was 2 weeks ago. His whole talk wasn't around AI, but that was a big piece of the conversation. And again, he just kind of touched on some of the, general things that are coming out with AI, but I believe he's a leader in that and, really understands where education is going in terms of AI and started talking a little bit about how it can be embraced and utilized. And again, we're going to be continuing to work with him.
And I just want to emphasize, I appreciate, the attention to the middle school. I appreciate the attention to social emotional. I think we have some of the best teachers in the area. And sometimes it's learning to get the students to be good humans. And sometimes we need some reinforcement with that, no matter who you are. And I think these will hit that mark of be kind, be considerate, look out for others, accept diversity. So those are so key that we feel here on this board and me personally.
Anyone else?
Just a comment, Roy. It's nice for us as the board to try to develop a vision and a plan and a direction with the superintendent and you guys in moving the district forward, and to have you report back to us that you are listening and that you prepare a plan that will take us in that direction, how you tied the professional development to the strategic interests and long-term goals. So that is greatly appreciated.
And CTLE is for teachers certification, continuing learning and education.
Yes.
Just that was thrown out a lot. I'm sorry. I didn't know if everybody knew what CTLE was for and why it's there. A little different than in the past. Great, thanks. Next item is driver education proposal for fall 2023.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bino. So our district has offered driver's education in different forms over the years. For the last few years, because of COVID-19, the state changed the regulations for the requirements for driver's education, and students benefit from that because they're able to learn safety, become familiar with driving, but also familiar with the vehicle, and they also are able to get their full license earlier. Tucker can speak to that. So last few years, the classroom portion continued to be taught by the district, but the portion that actually involves the students going out and practicing the skills of driving, the driving portion was done by the parents. The state issued standard checklists that parents were to use to go through each of the required units and skills and sign off, submit that to Mr. Tucker, that they had completed the requirement. As of June 30th of this year, that's no longer allowed. We have to revert back to the former driver's education regulations, which requires us to have a separate classroom portion and also offer a driving component, should we choose to continue to offer driver's ed. In years prior to 2020, we used Bell's Driving School. We've been in contact with Bell's Driving School. They do not have the availability. We've talked with other driving schools. They do not have the availability to handle the number of kids that we typically anticipate would be eager to participate in driver's ed. So Mr. Tucker has been thinking about this. He was working on this throughout the year. He's been speaking with Mrs. Wager, and we wanted to bring it forward after we saw what happened with our budget and with our current budget for this school year. So our proposal, and Mr. Tucker can detail it, is for the district to go back to what we did at one point, which was own our own vehicle, maintain our own vehicle, and offer both the classroom portion and the driving component through our own instructor. A while back, Mr. Tucker approached me and asked if we would support him taking the required courses to teach the classroom portion and to do the driving portion, and he fulfilled that requirement. So I learned recently that a smaller district near us has done the same thing. I think that we've received some feedback from our parents that the fact that we've offered driver's ed has been a really good thing for their kids. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tooker to give the details of what would be involved here, including the costs. It is not what we had prior to my time where there was actually a class taught in high school. So we're not incurring the cost of an FTE. It is a before school, after school, and potentially summer program,
Correct.
but it's not as costly, and the parents pay the costs. We would be purchasing the car.
Correct. I just want to point out the availability of bells went from 30 instructors to 6 during the pandemic. A lot of them just left. They couldn't get paid. They couldn't do in class. A lot of them retired, went to Florida. So they have 6 instructors. They charge $80 an hour for private instruction right now. So our parents are paying something similar to that to get at least some private instruction, but that does not produce what's going to be given to our students for the spring tomorrow, which is that MV 285 certificate that allows them to legally drive after 9 p.m. I use that term legally, drive after 9, and get that Class D license when they are 17. So in that proposal, if you looked it over, we went out and we searched for a state contract vehicle. I know that's very important for the purchase of a vehicle. We were able to locate a 2022 Malibu that has 4,100 miles on it. It's a demo vehicle from DePaula. So we did some wheeling and dealing, got them to come down on the price a little bit with that. On that page 2 of the proposal is the other things we have to incur in the next budget year, which have to buy markings for the vehicle, which are, we're not putting stickers on, we do magnets. That way the vehicle can be used by other district employees should it need to be used for some other purpose at some point in time. It's got to have the brake put in. I know Mr. Simons and Mrs. Wager spoke to the mechanics here and they think they should be able to do that. It's got to have first aid kit and the mirror. It's got to have a secondary mirror on there. This is all available on Amazon and they're cheap, so we can get them on there as well. And then the third page of the proposal is just the schedule that we would do. I counted up next year's schedule sitting on the calendar committee. We have the most amount of school days on Wednesdays. So we're going to hold our class on Wednesdays. Now, I did speak to State Ed today. If we pivot to remote, classroom can pivot to remote. So let's say we do run out of whatever. The classroom can continue. It's a question mark about the car instruction. They don't have an answer, obviously, right now. But if we were to go and have a snow day, 1 through 5 or remote, we can hold remote so the kids don't get a week behind, which is kind of nice. So we'll have a Google Classroom set up for them. And then those are the car instruction times. Regulations Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. We can have car instructions. You'll notice I did speak to some athletes. I just did some informal polling in my classes. And there are a lot of the athletes that I would gladly come in at 6 o'clock in the morning because I don't have to miss one after school on Wednesdays, and the coaches could adjust to that. So we're going to offer that as an option. And we can fit a maximum of 4 students in a car. So if we max them all out, that's 8, 16, 24, that's 36 students can be served. It's not the 90 that we have right now, but it's still better than 0. And we're going to be the only suburban council school, should this be approved, to have it. Shen is not doing it. Shaker's not going to do it. They don't have the staffing to do it. So we do. And then there's the costs in there. The cost per student, we're guesstimating, we're going to say $490. We'd have to 4250 there, just based on 24 students. So we have to have 24 to enroll. Again, taking our straw polling, we have more than 24 students interested right now that want to do it. So we're going to have to do first come, first serve, or however we're going to do that. Just for a point of reference, downstate, if you can Google all this, downstate on the island, it's going for $600 to $750 a semester. So we're kind of keeping the price low right now. I'm sure the cost for instruction is high down there and all of that. And then maintenance of the vehicle, we talked about having mechanics here do basic maintenance on it. Buildings and grounds, I'll get in contact with them. They can call me. I'll come right across town and just move the vehicle for snow removal. It's not a big deal. But 4-wheel drive in the truck and go over and get it out of the way for them for 5 minutes and get it put back so they're not waiting to go find a key for it. And then in the vacation periods, we'll just make sure we keep an eye on it. We'll put it somewhere where it's in view of the cameras. Probably keep it right in front of the school. I asked Mr. Malloy to draft up a sign at the police department. That camera's monitored 24/7. So that front camera, you can see where that car is parked. So we probably put it there. So that way it's monitored. And I would have a key. There'd be a key in the main office. And we're going to lock one in the safe at Columbia. We have 3 keys for it. So that's that extra cost. If you looked at the cost of the vehicle, they did quote, it was like actually $20-50, but I think that's well worth it. So we're not keyless at some point. if we purchase the vehicle. At fall of 21, when we tried to get vehicles, the cost per student for Bells to come do this was $405. That was in fall of 2021. Gas prices were lower. I don't even know what it'd be now. I did ask, they didn't get back to me. I don't think they're doing it in any of the school. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I don't know if they're doing it in any, so they don't have the availability. They were going to do it in Shen, but if you look at Shen's website, they're not even offering it. Shaker's not offering it. Schools that are closer to Clifton Park. So I know the students here appreciate it. I don't mind doing it. It's something I like to do. You guys paid for me to go take the 12 credits. So it's a class that I think some of your own children have sat in prior to now. And I think it's a good program. Does anybody have any questions regarding the proposal?
So I've had experience just as of today.
Yes.
And we've done it both. Davis did
Yeah.
it before, Rich did it after, and by far, I really want to go back to that model because I agree. I would be happy to pay in 450 if I didn't have the stress that I had trying to teach how to drive and have to do the 2 hours a week. So
I've heard the same. So
I fully support it. Now, the only concern I have is, do you think we're going to have some students that can't afford it, and do we step in on that? Or I don't know how that normally has worked.
Mr. Buno raised that concern with me when I went over the board agenda with him, and I reached out to Mr. Cooker to ask him that question.
So in years past, we've sent people, we've done two things. One, we've worked out with, and I know Mrs. Wager is retiring, but the position of Director of Business and Finance through their office, we've gotten kind of worked together to work out a payment plan.
Okay.
So we've done a quarter, like every month or something, they pay a quarter. That's worked for some parents. For real hardship, our guidance office does have funding streams through Equinox.
Okay.
And they've paid the full amount, no problem before. They have to know the financial situation. This guidance gets involved in that. I don't, but they're able to.
But
But there's the payment plan's no problem. We just work it out with the business office. So they know that we have checks coming in. I do the check because it's easier for us to track and for me to do that. But we've done it, but I've done that, I don't know how many times, and it's worked out for parents.
And do you think that we're going to have like a little bit of a mutiny because there's only 36 slots? I know.
My question, how you going to handle?
What did we have before? What did we have?
Before COVID in the fall, we had typically between 40 and 44.
Okay.
In the spring, it did bounce up to 56.
Right.
So if we can you can have a max, the regulations in person, and the max is 36 in a classroom.
Okay.
So I'd have to move the class up to like the South Forum or something. My room's got 30 in it, 30 chairs. We'd have to move it upstairs if we did that.
And then you have to have more road.
We'd have to have more cars. So we'd have to try to figure something out. But again, the price may be where some people say, I don't want to do that. So kind of a test here to see if we have some juniors and maybe some younger seniors who want to do the program. So
How would you handle if you had to have?
we have to put them on a waiting list and hope for the best.
First
And
come, first served.
yeah, that's how we've done it in
Yeah.
years past.
I
When
mean,
we,
Davis is on a waiting list. For a while.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's great.
Oh, my kid's been out for at least 4 years. She's been out 5 years now,
Mhm.
so.
they had a,
She was an athlete, she couldn't do it. So
I
you're
know.
saying none of my kids could do it, so.
well,
You're saying you.
Now you
you think
can because it's early in
athletes
the
would be
morning.
able-
I know that,
Because they missed out.
right. I don't want to speak on behalf of any of our coaches, but I know that some of them, if I start at 2:10 and we're rolling and that bus has got to go, we'll work with a student. If it's an event or something, they got a track meet or they got a athletic contest, we'll work with them on that. And then they take the morning driving and I drop them off the front door. They come in at 7:15 to go to class. And I talked to a gentleman downstate who teaches it and he says his morning classes fill up first. The
Because they're
afternoon
already
classes.
up anyways, kind of early.
They're
so.
they don't want to miss, they want to miss 2 after school. And then some of them have jobs and stuff like that. We're just going to try. And we'll have to adjust. If we need to adjust, we can work on that. We can maybe reach out to another and say, hey, a driving school, can you provide a car 2 days a week to get our overflow? That we can ask, maybe some driving school want to do that, not take on all 36, but maybe these right here. But we're going to try it. If you approve it, we'll give it a shot and see where we are from there and see how it goes from there. So.
I absolutely support it. I think it's a good experience for the kids. It's not just learning, it's also becoming small groups. You're sitting in the car usually with the same kids,
Mhm.
once a week. It becomes a little bit of a nice little friend group to be able to discuss things.
And if my father asked me if I'm taking my life into my own hands. Well, so now I'll be all right. Fine. There's a break on the side. We'll figure it out.
Any other questions?
I think it's a great decision as well. My daughter did the remote recently. So I would have much rather paid the tuition.
I know
We
there's,
did, pay another instructor, but yeah, I think it's great to have it close to home and not have a parent teaching.
see, they have discussed, and that's, there's only one person left in that office over at State Ed. There used to be 3, 2 have left.
Wow.
So there's one guy running the whole state. And he did mention that at some point in time, they may allow the classroom to be remote, but the driving obviously to be in person. And that may be,
That's actually a little bit more.
we said that may be more convenient for like having even, like we've been having evening class. So that may be more, but that's not right now. That's something that a lot of schools are advocating for that offer the program. So if that does change, we would put that change forward to you guys to make sure you're aware.
Because you had the 8-15 class,
we
and that
were.
was very convenient for anybody.
For anybody that does
Yeah.
anything, that was good. So we're just waiting to see if it comes from an assistant commissioner, somebody that has an assistant commissioner to their title or deputy commissioners. That's ultimately their decision to make. This is just the person who runs the office was mentioning it. So we'll see where that goes, but that's not for the fall. The fall is my classroom, 2:10 every day until 3:40.
Mr. Tucker, when would you indicate that you would be putting out information to the parents and the students regarding the fall classes?
Probably August at some point, probably mid-August, mid to late August. And the class can have to start rolling. I think it's the second week in school, just based on where the calendar is to get everybody's drive times in by Regents Week in January. And you saw the cost in there does include built into the cost or makeups. Kids get sick, things happen. We understand that, but they got to be in the classroom for 16 hours and in the car for 16 hours. So we can sign off that sheet and the forms.
And if you have too many, Linda can tell you before she leaves how to do a lottery. She's very good at the lottery.
That's what we've typically done first come, first serve. So that's what I've always done. I think that's, if we get 36 on the first day, great. If we get 50 on the first day, then we'd obviously have to do something. I'd work with Mr. Harkin on that as the building principal. He's the one who ultimately signs off on, the building level stuff. Mr. Simon signs off on the state level, the recertification every year. And then the big certification, which is actually due this year. We'll be doing that early summer. The big, where we have to do all the paperwork all over again every 3 years. This is the 3rd year. So we'll be doing that. We have to sign in blue pen. I make sure we sign in blue pen. It's like gold on the bottom. It's very
So
bizarre.
how we would like to proceed is we just kind of wanted a general sense if the board would support this. We want to go ahead and enter into the purchase agreement for the vehicle. We probably will have a resolution at the next meeting to approve the implementation of the program.
Yeah,
The only thing that's costing us is just buying the vehicle, the initial cost,
That's correct.
getting the vehicle and get it going.
And then I think we have to work out a plan over the summer with Mrs. Wager's replacement to figure out how we're going to bill for fuel. Because we're going to get the fuel here. So we're just going to keep track of the gallons. We got that little log book. And then they're going to have to take that out of the account and just move money around somehow. We'll figure it out. And we'll figure something out. So the money is
You
just
have to
moved.
document your fuel use.
Yeah, so there's-
Similar to what we do with transportation.
Right. So we document it and they take the dollars per gallon out of the money that I collect and then it goes somewhere else. So
So
I would assume that's how it works. I don't know. Somewhere else.
So,
Rolls around.
Mr.
Some of the
Turco, how long do you
spreadsheet.
think that car will last for? Because I'm already thinking we're probably going to need non-gas, right? Are you there already with this?
I
can't go there.
Hybrid,
I'm-
like all of a sudden, like,
EVs.
we need an electric car.
I'm hoping a Chevy Malibu, if we take care of it, we know enough people who can take care of the car. We're hoping 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
That's my hope, right? If we can keep it washed and clean, right? We can keep, I'll go down and I'll put $3 in the machine and rinse it off with hot water. Just keep the salt off of it. We'll figure it out from there.
And we shouldn't have any requirements for Go Green before that at a significant.
I don't know if that applies to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but
I
We'll
did
keep an
speak
eye
to
out
Nate
for that.
Sanford directly. Do they have the capacity to do this maintenance on the vehicle and do the necessary equipment? And he said it shouldn't be an issue.
it's a
There's
very,
shortage of mechanics. I spoke to him personally about it.
you gotta take apart, you just peel apart the dash real quick and put a connection piece in. That's all you have to do. If I was technologically inclined, I could do it, but I'm not. So somebody else can.
Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate your.
So general support to move forward.
I
Yeah,
think it's a
yes.
great
I think it's a
concept.
great,
And
bring it back.
one thing we didn't talk about, the real benefit to this is producing safe students and safe drivers. Because as we all know, that's a very difficult time in their lives to learn how to drive. And I do support it and I appreciate the depth. And I know you're very safety conscious and you're very aware of that this is an important thing for us and our families. But I do agree with you, Jeff, that it should establish protocol, first come, first serve. The idea of, we need also to teach folks that if you want something, you need to pay attention and get it. And then develop a waiting list, because I do remember going through that process with my own children. And it worked out because things change. But if we try to get too accommodating, sometimes we get gummed up in the process. I support this 100%.
And if this works out really well, we should be promoting it, like if we're the only school in the district, this is a big, or in the suburban council, this is big for us and we should be proud of that and advertise it and,
Agree.
So we can't put any advertising. Can we put the logo on it or something?
We can- we're
Call me, kids coming. Watch out. No. Just kidding.
Or we can
Is
go,
it a blue car?
or we can go try to get
It's a
money
white
to get our
car.
next car.
There you go.
Donation.
I tried to go that route. and it did not-
Didn't
We
work.
wanted to donate
I
a car.
tried very hard. That wasn't
Thanks.
working out too well.
I'll get a sticker that says this vehicle is not electric.
Ooh, Mr. Downs.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks,
No
Jeff.
problem.
All
No
right.
problem.
So the next item, science research recommendation to approve summer hours.
Mr. Stiles has been working with the teachers union and the instructor on this. Most of you know that Betty Gleason does a great job supporting the science research class. It came to our attention that there's a lot of work in the summer that she's been doing as required by the program to support the kids. We typically pay people for summer curriculum development to work in summer school, and this is fairly extensive. We've worked out a recommendation with the teachers union as to what her compensation should be, which is $45 an hour, up to a maximum of 50 hours. Mr. Stiles has the particulars on what she actually is required to do through the program at SUNY Albany.
Sure. So you can see in the memo, I don't want to read all the bullet points, but there is a pretty extensive amount of work that she does have to do. And really, she's really a liaison between the school and the students, research mentor and the different work that has to be done. After speaking with her, we feel comfortable that approving for her to be paid for up to 50 hours will, be able to, meet those needs, compensate her appropriately. And again, this has been something that she's been doing, and I think it really benefits our students. And this is really a requirement for the course, that she teaches during the year and the continuation of the work that the students have to do.
How many years has she been doing the summer jam?
I could be wrong, Marissa, but I think it's been 16 years.
Yeah. Almost 2 decades. Oh, yeah. Well deserved. And likely very.
I want to thank the teacher.
Yeah.
All these
a
years,
lot of
but it's,
dedication. Yeah.
and how many students typically is it?
So this year, I believe there's 16 students that will be doing summer work.
Nice. Excellent. Great opportunity.
It's a great opportunity for the students and she's doing what she's been doing to support them. So
Nice.
there.
Thank you.
Moving on to regular business, approval of programs for residential or disabilities. Any comments, questions on that? Seeing none, any motion to approve that? Joanne, second. Jennifer, all those in favor? Approved. We have a bid for rubbish removal, recycled cardboard and commingles.
This is the
Going
same vendor
to-
that we currently utilize, was the low bidder.
Connie Waste. Okay, very good.
What were the 2 other bidders that you sent stuff to? Just curious. Can you tell us? Or is it
Sorry, it's
Yes,
on
they're
the
on here.
Okay.
Waste management.
Waste management
Casella.
and Casella,
No, I thought we sent it to 5 people, but
Twin Bridges,
That's what I
Didn't
was,
but they
respond.
decided not to bid.
okay, thank you. That's the one I was wondering,
Still
because they're pretty popular nowadays. so-
Residential,
Yeah,
yeah.
we had them a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And then they missed the bid last year and they received it this year, but decided not to bid.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Need a motion to approve? Michelle, need a second? Cheryl, all those in favor? Approved. And the last item is the adoption of the volunteer firefighters, ambulance workers, exemption. We did not have our Columbia County little carve out of people, right, in that
There
area.
are 10 properties.
10 properties
in the
that,
District located in Columbia County, and we did not mean to exclude them, so.
was not, so
Resolution
No.
includes them.
looking to slight the Columbia County folks, but we
That's
just
right.
want to include them. So this was inadvertent. All right, so we'll include them since we passed the resolution. So any questions or comments? Need a motion to approve that? Joanne, second. John, all those in favor? Approved. We have one committee report tonight, and it is Ms. Cannon. Staffing.
So just a brief update on staffing. It's a busy time of year in human resources. We have 13 instructional teaching vacancies that we're working on building level interviews and then final interviews. In terms of our non-instructional vacancies, as Mr. Simon said, we are having some trouble recruiting 2 mechanic positions. So I've reached out to Hudson Valley to see if we can collaborate with their mechanics program and see if any recent graduates would like to come on board our district. We are also looking to staff 2 food service helper positions due to 2 retirements. We've placed ads out in the Advertiser and the Times Union, and we've had some success with that. So we're hoping through interviews with Colleen Wise, our school lunch manager, we will be able to appropriately staff our food service department. And then for our payroll specialist, we did extend the posting deadline through June 27th to widen the candidate pool. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, I know somewhere on the memo I saw, the TA positions were the 16th.
Friday.
Okay, so what's the deadline for folks that might be interested? Or is it all one
I can tell you
deadline?
that. Yes, it is. And we're going to be doing interviews the week of July 17th. So if anyone wants to apply into that, the posting deadline is June 29th. And if anyone is in the process of trying to get teaching assistant certified, I'm more than happy to walk them through that process and just help them out with the workshops and the test. Usually it's just easier if you go through somebody than just going directly through the process yourself. So my office would be more than happy to lend a helping hand with that.
Okay, great.
So the AP position, you have interviews.
We had 10 candidates interview with the initial committee, and 2 finalists have been recommended to me for final interviews, and I'll be doing those interviews with Mr. McHugh and Ms. Cannon. And that is on Friday. Correct? Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Marcia.
Welcome.
Table motions, I have none. Old business board members, anything? No. So we now have our consent agenda. Did we carry over our last item from the? Sunday?
Oh,
11B, yes. Okay. Several items up for the consent agenda. Questions, comments on the consent agenda?
Mike, I'm sorry. I
Yes.
also need, 11M.
11F. Very good. Anything else? Board members?
Just a comment,
Yes.
I was looking through, it was so nice to see so many gifts came to the district, in support of the student we lost and in support of the fishing club. So it's really generous of the community.
And I think, John, you've been involved with that. Appreciate it. It's love to hear from the kids if we can get them here sometime next year.
Absolutely.
Very,
It's quite popular.
I bet. Wish I could get out as much as Mr. Doug.
Hey, Bill, you want to do the fishing club?
So
I may do it with you, John.
very nice. Thanks for recognizing that group. And that very nice. Okay, so with that, and on there is the approval of the professional development plan that Roy talked about as well. So need a motion to approve consent agenda except for items 11B and 11F. John, I need a second. Jen, all those in favor? Approved. Now we need a motion for approval for 11B and 11F. Again. Michelle, second. John, all those in favor? All those abstaining? One. Approved. Thank you, Joanne. All right.
But I just want to make Mike, it's 13, right?
It's 13.
What's it?
Okay. I was like, where's 11? I
It's
knew I was voting for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going with what did I say? Oh,
I know, I was like, maybe I'm wrong.
Rephrase.
I don't know. I know.
11B, so it was 13B, 13F. I misheard, and I didn't look at the numbers. Thank you for pointing that out. It's been a long week. It's only been 2 days in the week here for me. Okay. So we're good. Change the number, 13B, 13F.
We're good.
Good, thank you. We do have some late additions to the agenda. On the addendums, there were several areas we wanted to approve: our fire safety, some school bus driver hiring, and then also for 14. Are there any questions on those? I did not include those, so any questions? Those addendum items? All right, need a motion to approve those. Joanne, second. Kathleen, all those in favor? Approved. So 14 is approved. New business, board members, anything? No? So public forum? Public? Mr. Grignon.
Principal Jay. Just wanted to thank the Education Foundation for putting together bringing back the 5th grade mixer. It was a huge success. Mr. Garib and I were there. Actually, all the principals showed up at some point to welcome all the 5th graders together, bringing the 5 elementary schools together. They had a wonderful time. Parents that volunteered from all our schools provided a lot of great feedback to us, and we look forward to continuing that tradition next year and making it bigger and better. And I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Taylor, who, as we all know, is a planner and really worked hard in getting that stuff out to all the families and all the volunteers, and he really did a great job pulling it off. So thank you very much to the Education Foundation, to Superintendent Simons for allowing us to bring that back after a 3-year hiatus. So thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Anyone else? No? Okay. Now move to the board forum. Before we go around the table, we do have a board member who is at our last meeting. Ms. Curtin will be leaving the board and enjoying life without board service for after how many years, Kathleen? 12 years. So we do have a gift for you for your service. We appreciate it. I do also, I asked Jeff yesterday about the board adopting a resolution to recognize you. So I want to read it. It's a little bit lengthy, but stay with me. Whereas East Greenbush Central School District recognizes the essential role played by its school board in ensuring the provision of quality education and fostering a supportive academic environment. And whereas Kathleen Curtin, school board member, has fulfilled her responsibilities with unwavering commitment, integrity, and tireless efforts over a span of 12 years, demonstrating exceptional leadership and a deep passion for education. Whereas Kathleen Curtin has consistently strived to enhance the educational experience of students within our district, advocating for policies, programs, and initiatives that prioritize their academic growth and well-being. Whereas her unwavering dedication to maintaining transparency and accountability within the district, as well as her commitment to effective governance, has set a commendable standard for her fellow school board members and administrators alike. Whereas Kathleen Curtin has effectively collaborated with the district superintendent, administrators, teachers, parents, and the community, actively engaging in open dialogues, listening to concerns, implementing strategy to address the evolving needs of the educational community. And whereas Kathleen Curtin's contribution, dedication to board service fostered the expansion of opportunities for students within our schools, promoted ways to increase the engagement of stakeholders in advocacy for our children and schools. Whereas during her term on the board, Kathleen actively served on the Advocacy Committee, Policy Committee, Special Grants Committee. The Board of Education of East Greenbush Central School District wishes to extend its deepest appreciation for Kathleen Curtin's service to the district and wishes her well as she completes her board service and moves on to her worthwhile endeavors. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the East Greenbush Central School District Board of Education that we hereby express our deep gratitude and heartfelt appreciation to Kathleen Curtin for her 12 years of outstanding service as a board member. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education unanimously has determined to spread this resolution upon the minutes of the meeting and ensure the record of the meeting reflects the board's gratitude for Kathleen's service. And it finally resolved that a copy of the resolution be presented to Kathleen Curtin as a token of her sincere appreciation and recognition of her invaluable service, acknowledging her significant impact on the education committee within the East Greenbush Central School District. So I need a motion to adopt the resolution. John, second Michelle. All those in favor? Congratulations. Thank you, everyone.
Now we record it, you can listen to it over and over again.
We do have a.
I'm gonna fall asleep.
Say a few words.
Sneaking out quietly. Really, the biggest word that I need to say is thank you. I honestly can say after 12 years, I think I am taking away more than I ever brought. I have learned so much in 12 years. And when Bill was talking about our staff from top to bottom being top notch, I need to say thank you because that's probably who I've learned the most from. Central administration, all of our teachers, our bus drivers, our TAs, everybody. It's amazing how they all work together to make this the great place that it is. I need to thank my fellow board members. You have definitely made this fun most of the time. We're not ever going to say all the time. And I also really have to thank the community because I was elected to represent them 4 times, and I need to thank them for putting their faith in me. And I hope for the most part, I did not let you down. I know there's probably a few disappointments out there, but you know, after 12 years, you got to have a couple. So I will say that, you know, after 12 years of sitting next to Joanne, she's going to miss me the most. I've put up with a lot of shenanigans, so you got to get the right person here to be able to keep her under control. And
She's the wild one.
yeah. So good luck in the future to the board, and I'll still be around
Yes.
in between those other endeavors.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent.
So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just, Joanne. So we're Joanne.
Yes, I will start, Kathleen. It's been nothing but a pleasure to sit next to you. You know, we've learned a lot together and gone through a lot together. Like I said, it's been nothing but a pleasure. I hope to see you here.
I'll come
Also,
and have a from the
yeah,
side.
like the old times. Linda, this is your last meeting, I believe, and I want to thank you for everything you've done in your tenure. You have done an amazing job, and we appreciate everything. You will also be missed here.
Thank you.
Mr. Coyle, thank you for stepping up when we needed you most. We appreciate everything you've done. And thank you to the staff, the students, everyone for doing everything they've done this year to make this year so successful.
Thank you, Joanne. Jennifer.
Yeah, Kathleen, I've only been here a little over a year, but it's been a pleasure and I've learned a lot from you already, and serving on any kind of public board for 12 years is very noteworthy. So I appreciate it. And Linda, thank you for making all kinds of complicated financial stuff digestible and very easy to comprehend. I'll miss sitting next to you as well, and I'll miss those reports. And yeah, I mean, the feedback from the community has just been that they're so happy about so many different events coming back this past year. So thanks to the entire, faculty and staff in the district. And thank you, Bill, for stepping up yet again. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Up to me. You better buckle up.
I've already got it written.
You're official.
Yeah, we might need executive session, so.
No, we're all good. Kathleen, it's been a pleasure to serve with you. And for those of you who are newer on the board, when I came in, I'm in number 11. Joanne, Kathleen, myself, and Mark are still here. And I think it's a testament to the group that we collaborate with, and you're an integral part of that. I came here as a stranger, didn't know anybody, and Kathleen was one of the principals in keeping me out of trouble. And it is amazing what you can learn from people if you just listen to them. And you're a good listener. We're all good listeners, but I think through this experience, like you said, I have the same experience. We came here, what we thought was something, it turned out to be something very different. And we've all learned from one another. And I can say, you know, we've shared our stories and our families have grown through this process. We've all grown and we're going to continue to grow. But I continue, and I will always consider you a very dear friend. So you will hear from me. And good luck to your future endeavors.
I don't fish though.
You know what?
She's not helping.
I do enough for everybody, so we're good. Good luck being a grandparent. I know that's going to be really important. Linda, to you, it's been an absolute pleasure to finally get to actually interact with you and know who you are as a person, which is even a greater thing than your abilities. You're a great, wonderful person, and you've shared that with us, and I think that's the takeaway. And Bill, I never knew Bill loves the North Country as much as I do. So that speaks for itself, right, Bill? Thank you to everyone. Thank you to the staff and most importantly, the administrative team. And this board is part of it. You're all here and you're stuck with me for at least another year, but I'm getting strong-armed into maybe another one after that if the community will have me. So again, thank you from all of us.
So echo the same. And you were a familiar face for me, thankfully. Our boys went to school together. So, you know, it's a little unnerving to come to a board. I've never sat on one like this and to see the familiar faces and help mentor you. So I do look at, you know, as a mentor over my years, for my 6 years here. And I truly appreciate that. Linda, as a fellow accountant, I really enjoy listening to you. And I really agree with Jen. You make things very simple. So it's a skill that is pretty amazing and rare to find. So thank you. Bill, same with you. And Mr. McHugh, who helped step in this year as well. So kudos to all of you guys. I mean, you truly are some of the most dedicated people and everyone in the community appreciates that. And I have to recognize all the graduates. I mean, this is amazing to see. And to kind of read the future and what they've done over time is amazing. Would ask if we can consider doing something for the kids that may go to military or may go directly into work for next year. I think it would be kind of cool to have a very equal to that. So just think about that. And, you know, also the graduates of kindergarten and 5th grade and 8th grade. I mean, I can't tell you how wonderful it is to have school back to normal and it's the community loves it and the kids just loved it. So thank you to everybody out in the district. You made a world of difference for these children.
Also,
Thing about going last is everyone said exactly that. And I was gonna say this, my neighbor is on here, so I was gonna say it's great seeing that and your ideas for military, because I have military members of the family. Thanks again. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kathleen. We know I've only been on a couple of years, but we know each other from PTO days. So, and thank you, Linda, for everything. It's great and enjoy your future lives.
Great, thanks. So Kathleen, thank you for everything. You know, I think that you embody what it means to be a community member and be involved, from putting 4 children through the district and being involved at the elementary, middle, and high school level, and then taking on the board service for 12 years. I know this last term was wasn't sure about, but we appreciate that you did continue that and your feedback. And every so often I get a call from Kathleen and she grounds you very well in certain things and not shy about sharing her thoughts and her opinions. And I enjoy those dialogues. And I again, it's kind of the embodiment of a community member who's involved with their school district. So thank you for that. And thank, of course, Linda, all the work you've done, and much appreciate all your service for the district. And the year went fast. I can't believe it's already our last meeting. Excited to see all the events that are happening and appreciate all the involvement of everybody, the things that you're doing in your buildings. We have middle school elevation Friday. We've got graduation on Saturday, and just be safe, be well, enjoy it. And, we'll see you on Saturday at the HVCC for graduation. So again, thanks everybody for a great year. Appreciate it. As a final gesture, we do have an executive session.
We couldn't let Kathleen leave without an executive session.
She will be able to adjourn this evening, so one final record. So we do have no business afterward?
No.
Yeah, so we do need a motion to move into executive session. Stay on business. Kathleen, second, Jennifer, who's in favor? So thanks, everybody. Have a great night. Mr. Tucker, thank you. Bill, congratulations.
Thank you,
Thank you. Appreciate everyone's attendance tonight.